in general, we just did $22 million worth of work to make this lodge last, you know, another couple generations for the people. Yeah. Yeah. Just shored the building up, poured new foundations, rebuilt the floors. A lot of structural work, millions and millions of dollars worth of structural work. Attempted to bring the building back up where it lasts, you know, many, many more years. I think it's going to have to be done again in a generation or two to keep it from crumbling still.
That the inn here at Paradise, the Paradise Inn, is important is because it's a historic building. So it dates from 1917. It's been here for a long time, and it was built in a style that really represents sort of the rustic architecture that's typical of national parks and has a certain ambiance that contributes to the whole feel, the special feel of the mountain as a place for people to visit. Feeding animals it's a big problem at Mount Rainier. There are animals that have become sort of beggars, and the fox are a good example of that. And the reason that that's a problem is the ones that congregate along the roadside waiting to be fed can be struck by cars, and we've had a lot of animals that have been hit and killed by cars because they're used to being by the road.
Yeah, that's getting a little too much.
We got some cornflakes in there.
It's great. Be out in a wild like this and just have one come up to within 3 feet of you. Terrific. If there's people here, they'll come in more often, you know.
Scare 'em.
Might get a little kid or bite them or something.
In the future, don't feed the fox.
Especially not corn pops. Give them some Apple Jacks.
And then for these bird species, if they get fed by people, their population gets bigger, and they actually are predators of other birds' nests, so they'll displace a lot of the songbirds in the area. So there's ecological consequences to feeding wildlife. So it's a really interesting progression, I think, when you come into Mount Rainier, because you come through the beautiful old historic gate with the hanging sign, and then you're in the old-growth forest, so deep dark shadows, lots of magnificent old trees, and the further into the park you come, the higher up you climb until you break out into the more open countryside with the subalpine meadows, beautiful wildflowers. We're anticipating that the peak of our wildflower bloom, instead of being in early to mid-July, will probably be late July into early August. Animals that you might see along the road: deer and elk. Stands of trees and big wide open views of the mountain. Mount Rainier had a tremendous amount of snow this winter. The total right now is sitting at 898 inches for the winter, which is about 150% of normal, so it's a ton of snow. And that means that the trails and the meadows are going to be melting out later than they would in a typical summer. By the time you reach Paradise, which is at 5,400 feet, you've got just spectacular views of the glaciers and the rock formations high up on the mountain. Sunset is a really beautiful time. Up at Paradise doesn't have quite the hectic feel that it gets during the afternoon. So it's a beautiful time of day to be here.